All right, everyone, we're going to start reading chapter 16, Sent Away. And just remember that everything that happened with Liz is still very fresh, okay? That day at school passed in a blur. JT was surprised when I didn't have his homework. His mouth made a big round O, and I could tell he was talking, but I couldn't concentrate on what he was saying. For the first time, I noticed his ears were too small. His teeth were crooked, and his eyebrows looked like fat, blonde caterpillars wriggling on his face when he spoke. All right, I am going to go ahead and highlight this paragraph because here we begin to see a change in Marley's feelings towards JT. I couldn't stand the thought of Sally talking about what had happened with Liz, so when it was time for lunch, I didn't leave Mr. Harding's classroom. Just sat in my seat and pulled out my math book to make up the homework I had missed. The first homework I had ever missed in math. Mr. Harding finished grading a few papers, then came over to my desk. "Marley," he said, "it's time for lunch." I didn't move. Finally, he left me alone, doing long division in the empty classroom. When I got home from school, Mother and Daddy were already there. Daddy had on his work clothes, but he'd taken off his jacket and loosened his tie, like he was going to dig a ditch in his suit. Mother'd taken the opposite approach. She'd put on pearls, a fresh coat of lipstick, and a new pair of white gloves. One look at them, and I knew it was bad news. My dread only grew when Mother announced that we were all going to a cafeteria for dinner. That was another bad sign. My parents believed in telling a person bad news in public, so they couldn't make a scene. Maybe occasionally we'd go by the cafeteria after church on Sunday, but out to dinner on a Tuesday night could only mean something was wrong. Okay, again, I am going to highlight this because we have some foreshadowing right here. We have clues that tell us that something bad was going to happen. Is going to happen, sorry. They waited until we all had our food. Then Daddy cleared his throat and said, "Girls, we have something to tell you." I kept my eyes on my plate. They already knew about Liz. Had they found out about JT and the homework too? "Since it appears that the schools are going to remain closed indefinitely," Daddy continued, "and she's already missed a month of school, Judy is going to go live with Granny in Pine Bluff. She'll go to school there." Judy and I stared at Daddy in confusion. "What?" Judy asked finally. I glanced over at Mother, but she was stirring circles in her mashed potatoes. Daddy sighed. "You're going to live in Pine Bluff with—" "I heard you," Judy interrupted. "But I don't want to go. My friends are here, and Marley, and I'm afraid you don't have a choice," said Daddy. "You've missed so much school already." "I'm doing the TV classes." Daddy shook his head. Watching a teacher on TV is no substitute for real instruction. You can't ask questions. I know you've been working hard on your assignments, but we don't even know how long the TV classes will continue. Oh my goodness. Again, I am going to highlight this paragraph because isn't this true right now? Can't you relate to Judy at this point? Like, how many of you feel like you need to ask questions, but you can't because you're not with your teacher? Oh my goodness. All right, let's keep going. There are study groups, Judy insisted. Parents help out and. Wait, sorry. Why can't she just order those correspondence classes David talked about? I asked. This doesn't concern you, Marley, said Daddy. My face stung like Daddy had slapped me. Of course it concerned me. My only sister was being sent away. Why can't I just go to TJ Rainey with Margaret? Asked Judy. What's that? I asked. It's a private school that's just starting up, Judy explained. It's free. Daddy put his fork down a little too hard. It's not free. They're using public money, money that should be going to the public schools. It's Governor Faubus' way of trying to get around the integration order. I will not allow my child to be a part of that. But I know this isn't ideal, Judy, said Daddy, but Mother and I have talked it over. I glanced at Mother, but she wouldn't meet my eye. It didn't seem like she was too excited about this plan, but she wasn't speaking out against it either. You can't send me away. You can't. Judy was yelling now. Other people at the cafeteria started looking over at us. So much for not making a scene. I'm afraid we can, Judy. I know you're upset, but we're your parents. We know what's best for you. Daddy spoke quietly but firmly. No, you don't, Judy hissed. She jumped up out of her seat and stormed off, knocking over Mother's cup in the process. The coffee dripped off the saucer onto the tablecloth. Mother and Daddy looked at each other. It was like they had forgotten I was there. It's the right thing to do, Maureen, said Daddy, but he didn't sound too sure about it himself. First, my best friend, and now my sister? Who was left? There'd be no one for me to talk to. Daddy might as well lock me in a tower like Rapunzel. At least she had the prince come by occasionally for a visit. But my hair wasn't long enough to climb up, and of course, that was just a fairy tale. Anyway, and now that I knew what it was like to have a friend, I didn't think I could stand being so awfully lonely again. Marley, Daddy repeated sternly. I looked up, wondering how long he'd be calling my name. What? I tried to keep my voice icy, try to tell them with one word how angry I was, but I think I just sounded kind of scared. Go into the bathroom and tell your sister we're leaving. If we go right now, we can swing by Margaret's house and she can tell her goodbye. Tell her, his voice broke. Tell her she's leaving tomorrow. Tomorrow? But Daddy wouldn't look at me again. He fiddled with his wallet, pulling out a few dollar bills. Just go get your sister. I pushed my way into the bathroom. Judy was sitting in one of the stalls, crying. I didn't know how to handle this. I wasn't old enough. I wanted to cry myself. Judy? Go away, she sniffed. They want to leave now. I don't care what they want. I didn't either. I'll come with you. What? We can run away. And go where? I I thought for a minute. Granny's house? I looked around the bathroom. We can climb out the window and walk to the bus station. And that's a stupid idea. That's where they're sending me. That was true. And we don't have any money. Another good point. But I felt a little better that she had stopped crying. Come on then, I said. Daddy said we can go by Margaret's house on the way home. Judy went to the sink and splashed water on her face. I didn't tell her it didn't help. Her face was still red and blotchy. I sat in the car with my parents while Judy went inside Margaret's house. I kept waiting for someone to say, "I'm sorry, Marley," or "We know this is hard on you too." But they didn't. Daddy just drummed his fingers on the steering wheel over and over again, tapping out some melody I couldn't hear. Mother laid her head against the window and closed her eyes. A vein pulsed in her head the way it did when she had a headache. Finally, Judy appeared on the porch. I watched Margaret's mom give her a hug, and then she climbed into the back seat of the car. "Thank you for ruining my life," Judy snapped. No one said a word as we drove home.